Willy Kimani is the Chief Commercial Officer at Naivas. He's our guest. Before we welcome him, let him hear the day's proverb. City.
Indeed. Willy, you will hear the proverb, but you just won't hear it. You will hear it when it is read from a certain gadget, a certain companion, a certain tablet known as the Samsung Tab S8 Ultra. Okay? Affords a sort of clarity that you'd think is magical and yet is actually real. Okay? A wise man never knows all. Only fools know everything. This is a proverb from Equatorial Guinea. The president is unique, longest serving head of state in the world.
Yes.
Got into power in 1979.
It's never left.
He has been there, meaning giving new meaning.
Now he's the longest serving head of state
Now he
for the
is.
last couple of weeks.
Yes, because somebody died before. And the one who had been longest died. And his son, who shares his name, also happens to be his vice president. See? Now, those of us who like talking about dynasties, that's dynasty for
That's
you.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Willy Kimani, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good to have you again on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Delighted to actually be here again. Yeah, always a pleasure.
To use the words of Rigiji, you're lost.
And that completely lost the American ambassador.
The American ambassador
I'll have
said,
lost. I'll have
what
lost.
do you mean? Why the violence?
She must have actually said, wait a minute, am I in the wrong
Oh,
room?
she actually asked.
Am I in the wrong room?
Am I lost?
She actually asked. Yes. Now that was our vice president thinking in Kiswahili and speaking in English.
Thinking Kenyanese.
Yes.
Kenyanese. You're lost.
Umepotea bwana.
Brana, karibu.
Asante sana.
Well, some big work that you've been doing. First of all, let me ask you: is the deputy president's, no, the president's daughter, your influencer, or she just a good client, good customer?
In most cases, you'll always find, we are near almost everyone, so you'll always find someone coming into our store. And I wouldn't say isn't our influencer, but
By default.
Well, she's not working at your behest.
no, not at all.
She just happens to go to the nearest supermarket everywhere she goes to, and the nearest supermarket happens to be a Naivas. Speaks volumes about you and the work that you've done.
Asante.
How many branches do you have countrywide now?
We have 90 stores today, and will be 91 by Thursday. This is a big feat, and especially for someone like myself. I joined Naivas when we only had 9 stores, so this is 10x. So now it's 90 stores and growing. We'll be opening one more in Uthiru. We just did a very good, fantastic food market at Ojijo Road, just next to Parkland Sports Club, and we took over one of the most iconic, we call them the former nice Uchumi stores done by the former CEO Suresh Shah, one of the longest serving CEOs, and most of the stores that he actually had done were very particular, small, compact kind of stores, and we took that particular store and we're quite happy about that one also on Saturday, and the response has been amazing.
90 stores
90 stores, yes.
countrywide.
Yeah, that's the most any Kenyan retailer has ever been, and the height, yes, and no store outside the country.
All of them local.
All of them local, because we believe there is no need of rushing out of Kenya to go set up in Gulu, that's the top right-hand corner of Uganda, before you even have a store in Nyahururu, or before you have a store in Kangware, or you're busy in the streets of Tanzania, and yet you don't even have a store in Busia.
It's a lot of stores, really.
Yes.
Even in Kenya. Now, are these the opening of these stores in response to a community's needs directly?
Absolutely, and I have to say the market is really small. It's still quite small. We are talking about only having 90 stores. That equates us to within the modern trade sphere. We talk of a split of a 70-30, and this 70-30 split is not even 70, and the 70 being general trade and 30% modern trade. And That is according to Sagachi, the research institute. But according to others, we believe it's less than that. It should be around 18 to 19%. Within that universe, I'm 40% market share. So we are still quite far off. As in, we can triple the number of stores that we have and still not be where we need to be. And if you look at the South African, for example, stores and all that, and the way they're on 60% modern trade, there's way much more space for us to grow. Yeah.
How far wide are the 90 stores spread in terms of counties and towns and cities?
We are in all counties apart. Most of them, we are in majority of the counties. I have to say, the only county where we had to shut down was Northeastern, where we had a store in Garissa. But we're in Meru. We're in Mombasa. In fact, Mombasa, we have in total 9 stores in the whole coastal region. In Machakos, we're there. We're in Kisumu, we're in Eldoret, we're in Narok. The funny part about Naivas is that we did not start off with our main stores in Nairobi. It was more of the satellite stores, get the stores from out. You do our Narok store, do our Kitui store. Our best store for the longest was the Machakos store. Even when in Nairobi, it was Komarok, and then eventually now came into the CBD and actually started owning that with Westland Store and the likes. So that for us, the strength of outside Nairobi, and then again now coming into mid Nairobi has been one key component of our success.
Nowadays, when you see Naivas, I see Naivas food market.
Yes.
Does that mean you've stopped being Naivas supermarket?
Okay. The food market is a concept where we give more preferential space to the fresh items that we produce, our direct own products. That is our bakery, our butchery, our fruit and veg, the juice bar, and the like. So that space, we give it at least 25% of the space when in our food market. So meaning the way we execute that particular store, it's quite extensive. It gives that whole market feel. You know, we want to do as many small things. Yes, amarigiti. We'll dice for you your mboga. We'll choma your nyama. You know, that's how extensive we actually go. You'll get more cuts there. You'll get, and we'll be even introducing more, for example, more brands of tomatoes, not just one tomatoes in there. You'll find slightly higher than norm fresh. So, and still we have the general merchandise, the whole food stuff and everything else. So it's more focused on fresh. And that's actually we are the kings of fresh. One by quality and of course by price. And that is a key component of our success so far. And it's good to also see that even our competitors have actually also started picking up that whole it's never good till it's COVID. Yeah. Yeah. So they're picking up on it and starting to give that agenda for the food market.
What drove you to that direction?
It's we travel a lot. We went all the way to the European side, we went to the South African side, and we needed to come up with something that actually it encompasses the true aspirational Kenyan. And it came out quite clearly that fresh is something, and especially quality and that what you want to feed your child, you want to be 100% sure that it's actually way much more in sync than anything else. So with that came the need for us to do a food market concept. And we did not just ape 100% European model or 100% South African model. No, this was actually a well thought out concept. Other markets, for example, if you go to the US, you'll actually find some of them will start you off with the clothing or the crockery and all that. But we were quite intentional. We're going to start off with the food market. Something else with the food market, the first moment when you're going into a store and you're actually finding the fruit and veg and everything, there's an activity of your hand picking up and down. That activity also starts showing that whole trust element, and it shows that even if there are 5-10 people, you'll actually notice and actually think that there's a bigger crowd within the whole sphere. These are a lot of science with having fresh an activity of hands up and down rather than actually just flattish out shelves and all that.
Right. So you find that, I mean, I guess, and this, it's probably buyer behavior, but you find that as you see Naivas spreading in the way in which it is, that people then get attached to the brand and say, well, I'm just going to go pick it up at Naivas, whatever. Then also comes the hope that nothing will happen that will dash those hopes, even as you see this widespreading 90 stores, hoping to be more in the future. How then do you assure? What can you say to assure those who are walking into the stores on a regular, every day, that nothing is going to happen? Unfortunately, with some of the trends that we've seen in the last few years, it's a real fear.
Yep. Yeah. So we've actually been in an environment of learning, and I love today's quote. Because as wise men,
proverb.
Yeah, the proverb, yes. The proverb, as wise men, and taking a big note from our chairman, David Kimani. The key word here is learning every day. The key word here is we do not know what we do not know. You have to always be on the lookout. We have seen people collapse. There are reasons why they did collapse. All the way, ranging from lack of know-how, all the way to rushing into other markets, all the way into poor corporate governance, all the way into category managements that were hard to actually do. Some of those taglines, for example, I'll say here with confidence that you need it, you've got it, is a very expensive tagline to maintain, because you'll actually end up having an item that Eric can only get, and he's 100% sure, but he's buying it in dozen. You have to now pay it for with milk for these other 8 items till I get to sell up to the dozen, and then your cash flow start coming out in problems and all that. It's getting all that into sync, understanding it, and also the family also decided to onboard some investors into it, and our investors to actually help us to also up our game on reporting, corporate governance, and everything. And that has actually made Naivas a way much better, more informed. And we are a data-driven company. No decision without data.
What do you mean? Explain.
We are not going to open a store without figures quite clearly showing that that store is actually going to break even. We are not going to keep a store open if that store is not making sense. We'll shut it down. We are that. If data tells us shut it down, we actually shut it down. If data shows us that customers are actually not happy with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we actually make that. We actually have one of the biggest. Our customer insights department is made up of more than 9 people. Just making sure that we're actually able to get as much insight before we even make any key decisions as an organization. That is possibly what I have to tell anybody right now, that fix your corporate governance. So it's not a must you be as big as a supermarket. Corporate governance and people, because enabling and actually having your people actually all out strong out there is very important.
So you're not saying that you're not promising people that, look, we're not going to fall apart tomorrow, but you're saying that we're doing everything that we can today to make sure that you, the person who's going to walk into the store and create the foot traffic, is taken care of.
Absolutely. It's all about the customer. In retail, once you get the customer right, you're good to go. At the end of the day, we exist to just make sure that the product is actually able to flow from the manufacturers and the suppliers perfectly in sync, and we make a coin out of it that can be able to sustain us.
Okay.
So it's all about how you're able to merchandise that product, make sure that that product is actually the right quality and everything. When you are customer-centric, you're good to go.
So, and then how you look, in a time where things are terrible, there's pressure on the president to bring down the cost of living. We're going to Christmas, everybody wants to do shopping, etc. It's very expensive right now, isn't it? There was a time we were walking into every supermarket, walking into Naivas, and we were buying oil at 2,400 shillings, 2,000 shillings. Now we're getting it 9.99, isn't it? How are you able to at least knock a few shillings off stuff that we need?
Yeah.
How are you able to do that?
Let me tell you, it's a fight. It's a big fight with a big fight out there. We call ourselves, we consider ourselves like the gatekeepers for our customers, and the first level of defense the public has is ourselves. In that, when a manufacturer or a retailer or supplier comes in with high prices, we ask why. Why are you increasing your price? Why should I even dare increase the price? Give me the reason as to why. And that's why there's nobody else who has that particular answer, that particular, at least, agenda. Otherwise, because it's an issue of, if you do not, then your volumes actually go low. And what you're seeing is unfortunately for some, and which some of them are market trends, global trends, for example, whatever is happening in Ukraine, issue on COVID challenges when it came to, for example, electronics are at probably the highest price right now. And the Kenyan customer, because you have to study the Kenyan customer, what they have actually been doing is reducing on the size of the brand, because they're still earning the same amount of money. So my basket is still the same, but then you now start seeing lower sizes, and at times you also get to see less volumes in the basket. Now, it's an issue here comes in that you have to give them a reason why to come to you. You have to always go back to the manufacturer and actually work out a price that jointly you shall be able to ensure that we are able to keep both our market share and also the customer is actually happy. And it cannot just be the promo one. It has to be your everyday price. And that's where we come in with a very strong proposition of price that says we are here for you. That we actually, not only this, we're actually going to make sure that your basket is always cheaper at Naivas. That promise for us is very, very key, of making sure that your basket is able to feel it cheaper at our stores.
So what is it that you do? Because like you've said, the challenges are everywhere.
Yeah.
The farmer is producing at a higher price.
Yeah.
Your other suppliers of other processed goods are actually getting these processed goods at a higher price. And then they're coming to you to sell at a higher price. What's this negotiation that you're having to cut back on? Whose margin are you cutting back? You're not telling me that Naivas is saying, all right, so I know my margin has been 12%, I'm going to come down to 12%. Or is it your suppliers that you're squeezing?
The unfortunate bit is that indeed it's true. We also have to take some margin hits. Yeah, that you can't avoid. But at the same time, the issue is to move, to ensure that suppliers or manufacturers also have a way whereby they're not moving from a 20 to a 40. Why is it not 28? Yeah, why are we moving to 40? You know, that discussion needs to be held somewhere. And that's where now, quite critically, when we're actually dealing with our suppliers, we have to be like, give us a reason. Let's show us the workings that you clearly have actually arrived at A, B, C, D. Okay, the market price is this. There's no availability of what? Of, let's say, onions in the market. We actually go direct with our insights team, find out in all the markets, what's a farm gate price?
Yeah.
Okay, what's a rough cost here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then why are you upping your price up to this? No. I will stop buying from you. I'll actually go back to the market and actually get someone else. Because if you fail to do that, you're not protecting your customer and your customer disappears. And remember, guys have been paying for school fees every 2 weeks.
For the last 2 years.
Yeah, for the last 2 years, every 2 weeks, there's always a back to school. There's the prices are all skyrocketing at any one given point.
Yeah.
So there's that whole need of making sure that you have to protect the customer, whichever way you look at it. Yeah.
How do you incentivize your suppliers? For very many of the other collapsed retailers, you've always had issues with the suppliers. Suppliers saying, right, we supply, we have to wait 90 days, 120 days before getting paid. We get to the 120 and then we are still not getting paid. Yeah. So what's the kind of relationship that you have with your suppliers?
Probably one of the best. We are happy that we have actually been able to keep that tab and that word with ourselves for the longest possible. The best way of actually having the best customer service, relating with our suppliers, is making sure that we keep to our contracts. The contract and the promise that you actually sign up to. So even if you agree on this 55 days, then you are keeping it to 55 days. If you agree it's 30 days, it's 30 days. If it's 15 days, it's 15 days. For example, all our fresh suppliers, we pay them on 15 days. So it's about agreeing on the particular date. Once you negotiate and you're all in agreement, then it helps them to plan. When your supplier is able to plan, they'll be able to service you better. Yeah, even as they are. And also, we have a plan for early payment, where most suppliers, if they have a problem and they probably feel like they want something slightly upfront, then they're able to actually get some early payment from ourselves. Well, they just quickly apply and we're able to actually do that, to give them that particular support, because we do understand that at times in other markets, they're not only supplying us, there might be some delays elsewhere, and there's not that need to bridge, and we do not want to actually mess them up. That customer, that supplier focus is very, very important for us. We have proper joint business planning. In fact, this is a season for signing that up again with them as we go into the new year, and making sure that we keep that promise and having clear agenda of how much are we going to grow, what are going to be those growth enablers that are going to help us to be able to grow, and then the customer focus part of it. How are we going to go into market and actually win with the market, and then agreeing on payment and also other terms like returns and everything else. Yes.
Let's take a break at 29 minutes after 8. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation, live on SpiceFM, on KTN News, on YouTube, on Facebook. Our guest is Willy Kimani, the Chief Commercial Officer at Naivas Limited. Naivas are basically the market leaders when it comes to retail. And we're talking about this to understand what is it that they do and what others ought to copy and do, and how then you can also lead in the industry.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Iti Muga, Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and Willy Kimani, Chief Commercial Officer at Naivas. We're talking about what Naivas has been doing over the years and what Naivas is doing as we head towards Christmas and then schools reopening again. Schools they just stay open.
Closing and opening before you say Jack Robinson, it's open again.
Close, open, money. Close,
Sheesh,
open, money. Close,
Even closing
open,
is money.
Closing, money. Aye, shida. Willy, there's something that you said, and you've actually mentioned this before in the previous conversation that we had here, which is you are speaking against, you need it, we've got it, and saying your strategy is actually different in terms of each store and what each store is then addressing and the kind of stuff that you've stocked in each store. What drives that? Explain.
Yep. Well, at the end of the day, you'll always find that the whole Pareto rule applies a lot in when it comes to category management. You'll actually find in most cases 20% contributing to 80% in most categories. If you go to milk, there are key clear brands that actually win there. But that doesn't mean you can't have some of the sweeteners and sweetened brands and all that. Even in the mainstream sodas or something, there are those main brands and all that. So the question is, do you keep end to end, and especially what amount of tail do you keep?
Okay.
And how critical is that tail? And can you be able to get it in volumes and quantity that do not now force you to actually pay for them before they actually sold out, which now leads you to having cash flow issues and everything and all that. So it's a way where you have to have a proper balance between making sure that the customers get exactly what they want, but there's that need, for example, to say, hey, do I really have to have the fanciest sofa set or something, or will people go to the supermarket to buy the best suit, or will they buy the everyday shirt? And at what point do you say, okay, thank you very much, this is up to where I am, and the price point also depending with where the store is, so that you also don't end up having I'm going to use this one, putting up octopus in an Island store. Yeah. And
it will not move as fast as if you had put it
exactly
in another store at Lavington Curve.
No, people will take photos for the gram and that's it. So it's having that particular balance and just knowing where, what, and all other things, and then giving the relevant things. Because anyway, what are you even telling guys who definitely want their everyday need sorted, perfect, all those other things out, all out there, and giving them the best. And that's why we do a store like Greenspan. A Greenspan has all the aspirational bit, but still we moderate up to what level, because it's a good food market, a perfect food market. But there's definitely some moderation of some key items. That if it's cheese, for example, how many cheese brands will you go in Greenspan? And how do we now work with suppliers to drive growth in that category in a place like Greenspan and actually grow it all out? But yet when you cross over to let's say waterfront, you already have people who are coming from other markets. They're already in there. They are expatriates. They're all that. They want that other. So
they want a wider variety. Of
and
cheese.
that's why So your store catalog will definitely be different from one location to the other location, and now you need to actually get that, so that you don't have 100% of what you have here having it, because definitely in Greenspan you will not miss someone who knows that particular cheese and who wants it. Do you sort it out? And at that particular point you say, okay, this is okay. I'm actually going to say up to this level I won't do, but and it helps you out, so that because category management is always evolving. In fact, I have to say for a team we are quite still on the ropes, trying to make sure that we also catch up and be the best. And I will say this is one of the reasons why people come from other markets and don't do well here, because they do not understand the market and the customers. That's one of the key things that we actually do properly.
Willy, how big is your research and development department?
The first and foremost, any commercial manager has to have that part as LM, and we have more than 40 of the commercial managers, and then we have a team of 9 in our insights team.
Okay, how do you present and then how do you manage your customer feedback?
We have we consolidate it. We have a CMS system, which actually helps us. We actually get all that feedback through our customer service department. Some of course online, some at the store level, and then we're able to get that and escalate them within departments all the way up to the exco level.
When you say at the store level,
Yes.
some online, what do you ask the customers to talk to you about?
So we'll always send prompts, especially when you need more detail on our categories. Or we want to have some mystery shopping around some store or any question. So you'll always prompt depending on the days and all that. But and ultimately also having a third party coming in and just giving us a proper score on from a market view. This is exactly how they actually. And once we get the particular questions, our points of interest, then we ask a larger crowd what exactly, because it can range from everything, from our fresh, from our customer service, to our reward card, to our electronics. It's quite vast.
Good thing you mentioned reward card, because I was coming to that. This bonga point system, I mean, that's what I think of.
So
it.
you see it.
Yeah, it is a bonga point system. Since you have focused your discussion on how innovative Naivas is, what are the innovations with your reward card that differs from other reward cards that people have?
Yeah. So without divulging too much,
usitoe siri yote. Toa tu ile siri ambayo watu wanajua tayari.
First and foremost, we have the best value in town, and our value has always been, and it will be actually good for people to even do their actual calculations on the value of points we actually get in Naivas. One on price, and then second actual price. So actual value per shilling spent is actually better when you're redeeming at Naivas. We are always open. Our redemption is always open, and we are coming up with a very innovative card. We had actually stopped it because we had partnered with Chase Bank then. Unfortunately, with the collapse of Chase Bank, we unwound our Visa proposal. So we are working our Visa card with a partner bank. I would like to keep it confidential.
No, please keep it confidential.
Till they themselves are, but at least with Visa it's quite open. So we are doing a proper Visa card, and we'll be able to also now have more encompassing that you're able to also shop not only within Naivas, but you can be able to go to other retailers and outlets or eateries and everything, and also use it for your e-commerce when you're buying things online and everything. That's exactly what we're trying to do with the card.
Oh, that's comprehensive.
Our card is so popular such that our largest proportion of customers, actually more than 80%, is actually our reward card customers.
Fantastic.
Yes, it's one of the best success stories I can actually say, with 3 million plus.
How many?
3 million.
There are many.
Yes, and
Very
not
many.
only many, serious.
Serious many.
Repeat customer.
Yes. Their basket value is higher. And that's why even our Christmas campaign, we build around them. Yeah, it's only for our reward card customers, and we'll try as much as possible to give them more value with the card.
Which brings us to the next question then. Is then what do people have to look forward to the next 10 days? Christmas is coming. Shopping is going to be done before that. What going into this period and into the new year do people have to look forward to?
Yeah, well, again, it's that time I have to remind people that back to school is also going to be in January. Luckily, it's going to be late January, so at least the January salary can come through for that. For the first time, it's been taken. And it's at least finally normalized. We'll continue with very many offers and all, but it's that way that always to tell guys, there are so many ways of having that fun. Please shop and please make sure, check out for the orange stickers, for example, when you go to the stores. Those are the offer prices and all. Look at the brand, look at always shop that particular value. Please take time also nowadays and start reading the packs themselves, the product packs, as in just read the packs. What exactly, between when you're comparing two products, what exactly is this, what exactly is this? At times I'll ask people even the difference between basmati and biryani, and
There's a difference.
Customer here for you, Willy.
There's so much. What is long grain? What is, as in, there's all these bits and all that. Let's take our time, understand that particular value, get that particular sweet spot, and now shop where definitely you're also getting value. And I was just thinking, because when I looked at the today's post, and I was like, okay, so what exactly can entail even Naivas? Something that, because how many people, for example, even visit our national park here? It's right across your office here.
Some people here want it to be closed and converted into affordable housing.
Never ever.
Why are you all looking at me?
Why are you feeling somehow?
Why are you feeling attacked?
For 900 bob.
Because I'm among the people who proposed that, yes.
For 900 bob or even 1,300, you can actually be able to take your family, go into Capital Center, buy some snacks and all sorts of things. You go in and the kids will be so happy and all that. And with a budget of less than 3K, you have done something
for your family.
Feel
the value.
And everything.
Actually, we can even segue into Sakaja is doing a Nairobi festival
yes.
at Uhuru Park,
Yeah.
the newly reopened Uhuru Park. You can take your children there.
Absolutely. Oh, the museum. By the way, we have forgotten about the museum and all that. The other day, I was out there checking out on the snake park. Just to be a hobby when I was in campus seeing them being fed. As in, they're still there. And the guys are there. Even the National Treasury building, sorry, not Treasury, the one opposite Nyayo House there. They even have a bouncing castle there for kids and stuff. As in, there's some things that government is actually also doing. There's some bits and pieces. If you're in Meru, for example, or Nakuru, just going up the crater there and all that. There's some very, very, and just infuse that
activities.
with some. Go to a deli, buy some nice packed food, and get some nice drinks out there. We are running for the over 18 some nice liquor offers that you can also be able to buy and just enjoy yourself and just keep that merry. There are ways of saving that you definitely need to, as you also prep for the new year that is actually coming. We hope that prices will be going low. All the indications are at least things will start easing up. I'm looking at you. But globally, we seem to be seeing somehow some ray of hope out there. And so with that bit, hoping that at least by at least in the next 9 months, we'll also at least be settled. At least, so we need to do what is called Kukaza Mshipi. Yeah.
This is the time.
This is the time.
But then you're also giving out mbuzi.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, as a tradition, we have always done that. As
Naivas and Mbuzi and Christmas,
Same
was
was
that.
yeah.
These boozes can read and write.
But it's been a tradition. We believe that there's no snow for the Christmas around, but what people will do is everybody sits down and has a mbuzi.
Yeah.
We always we'll have to chinja, and most of the families, and that coming together, and we are built around a family unit. So that bit of a chinja, dice, and do the mbuzi, will always work. When from our side to the corporate side, as in the association with the goat, the Kenyan goat, it's actual Christmas bit. And so we'll always give out goats. This time it's more than 1,000 goats that we're giving, because we have some online, we have others in the stores. All stores have particular number of goats. And also giving vouchers. Every day, every store has gift vouchers that we've actually been giving. Total, more than 60 million worth of vouchers.
Yeah. So how does one get a goat?
Just need to shop.
One get a voucher.
Just
goat voucher. How does one
just
get
need to shop with Naivas using your reward card. As simple as that. Yes. As simple
as long
that.
as you are registered for a reward card and you shop using it,
Yes.
you stand a chance of winning.
Yes.
The voucher or the goat.
Yes.
And you can if you're not you can
And
register there.
and it's instant. It's all digital. So it's actually all whichever till will actually ever will come in. It's actually all digitized in there. And at the same time, also if you pay with your Visa card, you also get to get some cashback, immediate cashback.
There's something that you said about the profile of your card holder.
Yes.
And tell us about then this. What is it about this card holder? What's their profile? You've talked about their basket size. You talked about their shopping frequency and all.
Well, the shopper is It's quite different because if also talk about the individual shoppers, all the way from Kitui to Nyali.
You'll tell us about 3 million people.
3 million people.
Yes.
But in a nutshell, the reward card shopper shops 3 times more than the walk-in customer, basket value-wise. Comes in 4 times minimum a month from our trends. That had reduced during COVID to around 3 times with an increased basket. And also, they're very centric to brands and quite clear on brands. So the brand affiliation, for example, when we were looking at how prices are actually increasing, most of them just still kept to the same brands, but maybe lowered the size of product that you're actually taking and all that. They also look for value. You can always tell the trends when there's value, and especially when it comes to Nairobi stores, you can always tell sometimes the preferential for particular brands is not as strong as possibly upcountry and stuff. So that whole profiling, we have it in different ways.
So these are the insights that then you use to determine what you're doing in your market.
Yes.
You share this as well with your suppliers.
Yes.
So that you know this is the trend, and if you do here, we are both winning.
Yes.
If you do here, we are both losing. Do you also use this card to get feedback, direct feedback from the customer?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
We do a lot of online questionnaires back to our customers. We also have a platform called Naivas Kikao, where we've actually in Kikao we took the word Kikao from the sitting where we have reward card members who have signed up to intentionally to give us now the information anytime we actually need. We go to the Kikao, and we have more than around 5,000 Kikao members. So anytime you want a particular segment, or for example you want something for the young youth and all that, we just look for that particular subset, focus group. In particular, customers who have already signed up for Kikao, who are already Naivas shoppers. Yeah.
Okay.
How can this data that you collect, or not the data itself, but how can this trend that you use be used by others, not just in the same industry, but others? I mean, you're saying data is a big determinant of how you make your decision.
Yep.
And of course, you've seen some other people just don't, they do this left, right, and they make that decision. How would you tell these guys the value of data?
Ultimately, the hardest bit is when you're having a conversation with a supplier and you're discussing, we are going to do a promotion. It was 100. Do you put it at 79 or do you put it at 89? Are you going to get the same uplift or not? Or maybe even if you put it at buy one, get one, you're still getting the same uplift as if it was at 90. All those data trials and data runs and all those things, coming to sit down with most partners and all, and monetizing the data that we have is something we have not ventured into, but it's something we know we are sitting on a big, extensive world of knowledge that most people will also want to actually learn. I challenged the Ministry of Trade the other day. They should be speaking to us to learn trends and what exactly does it entail a Kenyan and what they shop and how they shop and all those things. They'll probably get more data than some of the outside market that they actually do, because this will be clear. This is Eric does this. Even when he shops up country and he goes into a particular store, this is what he buys. This is his particular basket. Okay, you go backwards and know how much he pays you in KRA, and
then you can work it out.
How you get, as in, I'm talking about now, for example, the trends for your pay versus how you shop and all those things. Then, but
on the other hand, it can also help in policy formulation.
Exactly.
Moses Kuria can look at this data and see this is actually what we need. We need to encourage more and more investors into this direction and others. We need to encourage more and more growers of this kind of food when you're talking about fresh, or the kind of trends that we are seeing in fresh. It helps in policy formulation, policy direction.
Exactly. And now you mirror that data versus market data. The quick data, it was even just to do a quick one right now with you. Price of chicken highest than any other country in the world, we know. if you just to compare the chicken penetration and consumption versus, let's say, a Uganda and all that, you'll clearly see the whole. Then you start getting ideas on how do I promote and actually get chicken cheaper into the market and not having chicken that is for 30 days as expensive as a cow that has stayed for more than 3 years. It starts. There's all those things that we can all sit down together and start working, and there are traits that they will never learn. Yeah, suppliers are really eager anytime we're actually playing back this data, because the brand managers, for example, they use this data to also come up with new innovations and new everything and all. Yeah,
I'm surprised though. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that it's interesting that we use the data in the manner in which it's being used, because a lot of us would just sit and think, well, okay, Naivas is doing something fantastic today, and there's a 21 shilling drop in price. And it's great for the next 3 weeks. But to actually apply the science to it, then you get to know who this person is who is walking into your store on a daily. And for me, it does a lot more. It does a lot more for the consumer. It does a lot more for the brand. It does a lot more for the economy, because the truth of the matter is that building economies can only be done to a certain extent with the right amount of data.
Yeah.
You can't make a decision without the right information, right?
Absolutely.
And is that not what we're really pushing here at the end of the day? Is to have an economy that is driven by this data information. It allows us to make decisions for better, because the truth of the matter is that for economy to thrive, we're after profit.
Absolutely. And also to be more particular towards particular segments of persons, industries, and everything. We just all have to go more detailed into what exactly the data is actually showing. It's as simple as seeing the shopper trend and what particular points we get shopper uplifts and all that over the weekends, or we'll start gauging and even assisting some of the policymakers when to make the roads, for example, in Westlands. Versus you can clearly come in and ask the retailers and all that, okay, what a kind of in the afternoons, okay, what happens. You can always tell all that. You can also use that part to also look at the communication altogether. We just need to all sync.
Sure.
There's the whole blockchain bit that I think it's going to be a big story coming out of Qatar, on how they have completely interlinked everything from the hotels to the whole sports and everything and all that. It's going to be a study that hopefully will also come in here, and other governments will actually embrace, on how to do some that whole blockchain from all the particular different retail segments and all that, and just not retail, across all the areas of industries and get something running.
That requires a certain mindset that we have in very small quantities.
See you selective words.
I wanted to use something that is user-friendly and something that isn't adverse, because it requires accountability. As you were speaking, I was thinking, the government itself has an entire department that deals with just this. It's called NIS. They're data gatherers, they're information gatherers. That's what they do, primarily. Why? You have the National Bureau of Statistics. That's what they do. And then, with what Willy is telling us, this guy has a sample size of 3 million. My goodness. That's a treasure trove. I mean, it's as you were speaking, I was just thinking, goodness gracious me. The amount of information, because you're dealing with something that is a must. It's a commodity everybody has to use. There are no ifs and buts. Yeah. They must. And he's sitting there.
Can even know where to build markets, where to build distribution points, where to build. Anyway, it's a lot of information.
What SMEs to support and all those things. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Willy, we thank you very much for coming and joining us, and for all the information. I know you are a past chairman of the Retail Trade Association of Kenya, but you're still, of course, influential in that.
Yeah.
Next time, we talk about the industry and how the retail sector is actually doing.
I still sit on that board.
Yeah.
Hoping our main interest is not to go for competition. Our main interest is to grow modern trade, also as Naivas and all that. And more specific is to make sure that we are customer-centric, make sure that customers have it right. We give them value, and more so when it comes to this particular festive season, so that they're able to enjoy their families. So Merry Christmas.
Asante sana. Shop at Naivas using your card, and you stand a chance of winning Kulambuzi. What are you calling it? Krisi?
Kikwet.
Kikwet.
Yes.
Sikia hiyo.
Chris
So we-
Kikwetu na mbuzi.